If I may go back to what you said earlier
Yep.
about God being the creator, about the creative, about the argument from creation, right?
Right?
The second you postulate a creator in this whole thing that is going to create everything from design, that creator would have to be would have to come from another creator that has to be at least as complex, and then you're going and getting spun out in this whole entire infinite regress. And that has to stop somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically you're getting to who created God, then who created this God, then who created this God, who created this God. So the second you argue from intelligent design, that intelligent designer has to be the process of an intelligent designer that is at least, if not more complex than that designer.
Really?
And you were talking about mechanisms, right? How there is no mechanism.
No creative mechanism.
No creative mechanism.
Right. You don't create something out of nothing. Doesn't happen.
I agree.
Something comes from something. Something never, ever comes from nothing. Correct.
I agree.
Good. I'm glad we agree.
I agree. Something never comes from nothing. I would absolutely agree.
Good.
It has to come from somewhere. Something doesn't just void out of nothing. So it has to stop somewhere. There has to be some buck-stopping action.
Yep.
But to postulate God
Right.
is to get something from nothing.
Okay. Fair enough. Here's philosophically why I disagree with you. Point one.
Okay.
Everything that has a beginning has a cause.
Okay.
Point two. The universe has a beginning. Point three. Therefore, the universe has a cause.
Fair enough.
That cause is either matter and energy are eternal. The problem with that is, as Albert Einstein found out very harshly, the Big Bang Theory blows that to shreds. The Big Bang Theory shows us before the Big Bang there was nothing. The Bible insists God is eternal. God does not have a beginning. Obviously, Einstein, when he was a pantheist, thought the universe is eternal. The universe doesn't have a beginning. And that's why Einstein used a mathematical lie to try and disprove the Big Bang. But his mathematical friends showed him wrong, and he admitted, guys, I put the fudge factor in there because I don't like the conclusion of the universe is not eternal, because it clearly points to some type of God. And so the universe is not eternal. So then the question is, what makes more sense? What is more reasonable? And I think it's rather clear. An eternal God who has no beginning, which means there is no cause for God. No cause. Why? Because God does not have a beginning. Therefore, God does not need a cause. Remember the first point? Everything that has a beginning has a cause. The universe has a beginning, therefore the universe has a cause. But God has no beginning. Therefore, there does not need to be a cause for God. Does that make sense?
That actually does.
Oh,
Now-
thank you.
Now let's say that all that is right, that the universe is eternal and that there is a cause somewhere, right?
No, the universe is not eternal. The Big Bang shows that, right?
Actually, no. The Big
Okay.
Bang is just a label that physicists put on something because they don't know what happened beforehand. So that's kind of a misleading label. We don't know what came before the Big Bang. And all we know is that there was this explosion that came from somewhere. No one knows what came before that. To say I don't know is not to say, oh, this did not happen.
Right.
So let's grant that you're right, that everything you just said was right.
Okay.
That, and I've heard you referencing, your arguments sound very familiar to Aristotle, actually. That there is some Aristotelian prime mover up here, right? That is the source of all motion, the cause of all motion, the uncaused cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is not synonymous to an omniscient, omnibenevolent, omnipresent, eternal God. And Aristotle, if he were alive, would tell you that himself.
Yeah. So obviously, Aristotle and I disagree.
All right, well, there's one thing to disagree, and then there's one thing to arrive at a conclusion that actually reflects reality.
Yeah.
So the reason we're having this conversation, the reason why we're all here, someone is right and someone is wrong.
That's exactly right.
I'm
Very
not
good.
saying I'm right.
Yes, you are. You
Nope.
started with some pretty strong statements when you started about me.
I did.
Okay, thank you for acknowledging that. So let's not act like you're just an innocent passerby who thought, wow, this is interesting. No, you've got an opinion, and I respect that. And you disagree with me, and I respect that. That's just fine, okay? But let's not deceive each other by saying, oh no, we really don't disagree. No, we do disagree.
All right, fine.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you on everything. I'm saying it very well could be the case that there's some Aristotelian prime mover up there causing everything. I don't know that for sure.
Right.
Because I don't know the cause of the universe. I'm not pretending to know here. You're the
Right.
one who's pretending to know here, to know everything. That's why you're here, am I right?
No, I do not know everything. I repeatedly say, I do not know. I do not know everything.
Okay, whatever. I would say that even if there is some Aristotelian prime mover up in the sky, we cannot ascribe to it the moral qualities that we ascribe to God.
Okay. Now let me tell you why I think it's more reasonable to believe that there's a personal God than to believe that there's an impersonal God. Real simple. It's not
Okay.
going to take too much work on your part, guys. Is it more reasonable to believe the personal comes from the non-personal, or is it more reasonable to believe the personal comes from the personal? Guys, 100 times out of 100, a personal human being comes from a personal human being. You never get the personal coming from the non-personal. You never get love out of a rock. You never get free will out of a statue. You get a rational mind from a rational mind. You get a personal being from a personal being. You get the ability to love because you're a human being with a physical mom and dad who have the ability to love. God brought you into this world with this incredible ability to love. So, if there is just an impersonal prime mover, my problem with that is, I'm sorry, too much of my life is all about the personal. The personal does not come from the impersonal. You don't get the personal out of cement, out of a rock. You don't even get the personal out of a tree. You get a personal from a personal being. And that is part of why I'm convinced the Bible is totally reliable when it talks about God is love. God is a personal being who loves you and who wants to live in relationship with you. Does that make sense?
Why don't you jump in here, man? I kind of had it.
Okay.
I'll just start out by saying that really begs the very question of what we're talking about. It begs the whole entire question of God's existence. You're basically saying, I think God exists, therefore he exists. And that's really all I'm going to say.
You've done a horrible job listening to me, sir. You have not listened.
That's just your opinion.
That's reality, man. I didn't just say I believe God exists because I believe. I said these are the reasons I believe God exists. Come on, man. It's not easy for me to speak hours and hours out here. Please listen and don't attack a straw man. Come on, I respect you, you respect me, and let's have an honest intellectual discourse. That's what I thought we were at the university for. I do not believe because I believe. That's idiocy. That's being irrational. I believe because of evidence. I believe God exists because there's overwhelming evidence. I believe in Jesus Christ because there's overwhelming evidence that he is reliable. I do not believe because I believe. That's lunacy. Yes, sir.
About the impersonal personal thing, right?
Yes.
Like what you were talking about a second ago.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see why you would think, okay, so I feel these things, therefore I feel it because of God. God is love, I feel love, therefore, boom, right?
Yeah, one of my pieces of evidence that God exists is my experience and my ability to love.
Okay.
Because if there is no God, love is a chemical reaction. Because if there is no God, you're limiting reality to matter and energy. And you don't get love, a free will, out of matter and energy. This cement, the inanimate, has no ability to love. Right? I mean, is that clear, guys, or am I talking
Yeah.
gibberish? Do you go out on a date with a rock? Do you go out on a date with a tree? No. You go out on a date with a human being who's a personal being with a rational mind, a free will, the ability to love or not love. Right?
Right.
Okay.
But, I mean, wouldn't it also make sense that the way we feel things and the reason we feel things is also just beneficial for life? It helps us continue to live, right? If people didn't feel the need, it's a need to be near each other, right? To seek out other people, to form groups, to form societies, all that stuff, right? To continue their life and the lives of others, then we wouldn't have any need to. If that didn't help us live, we wouldn't feel it. It would serve no purpose.
Okay.
So then, doesn't it just make sense that why we feel things and the way we feel them is just a product of, necessity for life, which is, evolution?
Hey, it's possible that what you're saying is true. The reason I can't buy it is because although I might love him because we're both occupants of planet Earth and we both want to survive, I am convinced that there is more to my relationships with certain people than simply, we want to survive, so let's coexist. I am convinced that people have sacrificed for me. They have given out of their backside for me. I didn't deserve it. I didn't earn it. They purely loved me. And guess what? That is such an important part of my experience in life that for any atheist to tell me, oh, that's just part of the evolutionary cycle, that's just people's chemicals going off a certain way, is such a crock, it's incredible. And I can promise you, the guy who tells me that the reason that racism is wrong is because we just got to coexist so we can evolve higher. That's also a crock. I am convinced that racism is wrong because every human being is created in the image of God, given an innate dignity that comes from God, which means racism is wrong, not because I'm part of Black Lives Matter. Racism is wrong, not because I'm a white intellectual elitist. Racism is wrong because God created every single human being in his image. And to denigrate a human being because of a different ethnic heritage is sin. It's evil. And God will judge us for it. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah.
See, that's my experience.
Yep.
And so that's why I was so offended by this guy, or your buddy, or whoever he is. You don't know, yeah. Well, when he says, you just believe because you believe. That is such a lie, it's incredible. I believe because of evidence. And if there's no evidence, I'm not going to believe. I believe because of experience. I experience life. I experience love. I experience meaning in life. I experience free will. In fact, I've experienced free will so much that if you smack him in the face, I'm going to look you in the face and say, that was wrong. You should not have done that.